Welcome back, PowerShell Nerd here. Today, we're going to go into a deeper dive on arrays. If you didn't tune in last time, there's going to be a video in the link in one of these corners, and it's going to be a high-level overview of arrays. If it's your first time tuning in, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. If you're coming back from another video and you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. Today, it's going to be a fun content. We're going to be diving deep into arrays. We're going to talk about system array list and regular arrays. We're going to talk about fixed size, which will get you when you're doing scripting and stuff like that, and you're trying to add to arrays. We'll show that, demonstrate how plus equals does its thing, and we'll also be talking about some static methods on classes. So without further ado, let's hit that shell. All right, we're going to make sure our key bindings are good. So we're going to go ahead and hit that F8. There we go. We have our array with integers in it. We'll go ahead and highlight that array. And we'll press F8 to show what's in there. 1, 2, 3, obviously, because it's an array. Go ahead and do a get type on that. We'll get the full name of the type, which is going to be a system object, right? Which we know we have an array of numbers. And then length, as we've seen before, is going to show you how many items are in an array. This is where we get into the weeds of things. So this array is actually a fixed size. So we see IsFixedSize true. And what that means is it's not an array list where you can actually add to it. And you're probably thinking, well, PowerShell nerd, we've added to arrays before. We have, but this is actually what we've been doing here on line 10. But before we do that, with arrays, there's actually an add method. And if we run that method, notice it says collection is fixed size and it throws an error. It's because this is a fixed size array. As we see in here, it's set to true. You can't just set it to false. It's how you create the array itself. But you can do array plus equals 4. Works just fine. And if we look at the array now, there's a fourth one. But that really does in the back end is it's creating a new array under the hood. So it's just wiping out the old one, adding to it basically. It's like kind of cloning it basically. A lot of people don't know that. So keep that in mind. We'll talk about how to fix this coming up in a few, but let's keep going. So one thing I can't remember if I showed, but if you do 1.5, it's going to do 1 through 5. If I print that to the screen, 1 through 5. So we're just going to create integers 1 through 5 and put them into an array. So now we have a new array with 1 through 5, right? Now these are static methods on the class. A lot of classes have these. They're really good tricks using them within code, like date time class has some good ones to get like the current date and stuff. We're focused on array, but some cool methods. So you call the class and then you can call this method. And if you were to do this in the PowerShell, array, colon, and then you hit tab, you can actually tab through all these and see what's out there. You could also read the documentation on the .NET class and it will explain more about it. So first we have reverse. So this is actually going to reverse this array. So it's 1 through 5. If we call this reverse, notice that nothing gets displayed to the screen, right? It actually modified the current instance of that array. So if we look at it now, it's actually reverse. Pretty cool, right? Why would you do this? Let's say you have a name. You could do this with the string. I can show that as a bonus feature for sure. Or it could be added to the challenge maybe. Who knows? But you can reverse a name or reverse any type of string if you're trying to reverse things for some reason. You can also call sort. And if we call this, it's just going to reorder it in the right order. So now if we look at array again, now it's sorted in order. It's pretty cool. Usually get member and stuff, or if you, like I said, the documentation will tell you what parameters you can pass in here. So keep that in mind. Another cool method that's actually on the array itself is clone. So if we go ahead and run this real fast, I'm going to show you. So we have 1 through 5. We're going to go ahead and call clone. And now if we look at clone, and if we look at array, so we just cloned it. Obviously you could do the clone equals $array. There is a thing with clone, and I'm about to show that. So it works when there's objects within the array. So if I were to go ahead and do clone real fast, if I do clone bracket to bracket, so number 3 equals, we'll say 4. So now it's 4, and then if we look at clone, there's 2 4s, and if we look at array, there's not 2 4s. So again, this is only when there's objects within the array, but it creates this shallow copy when you do a clone. So what we'll do is we'll create this hash table with server1, and we'll put it in this variable called enter. And then we're going to put enter into our array. So now we have array1, and it has server1, right? Name server1. Now we're going to clone array1 to array2, right? So now if I look at array2, it has server1. If we look at array1, it has server1. Now let's change the name in array1, and we'll change this. Instead of server2, we'll just do something big, 100. Why not? So we'll go ahead and run that. So if we look at array1, server 100. If we look at array2, it actually modified it because it's a clone. So keep that in mind when you're using clone with objects. You can, if you want to keep both of them the same throughout your code, this is a technique you could use. Pretty cool. Now let's get back into the fixed size stuff. So here, if we look at array again, we have 1 through 5. Remember, it starts with index 0. So there's actually 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So there's not a 5th index. So if I were to try to print this out to the screen, nothing's there. And so if we try to assign something to 5, which doesn't exist, it's going to throw an error because it's a fixed size and it's outside the boundaries of the array. So how do we fix this? So we need to create an ArrayList, and this makes it not fixed size. So fixed size is false. So we'll go ahead and run this. And so now we have AL, nothing in it, but we do IsFixedSize, false. And now we can add with these add methods because it's not a fixed size. So that will add. Notice it printed a 0 to the screen. That's just showing it added something to the 0 index. Now you can do $null equals with add, and it will not show that output. And then also, like we shown in the past, go ahead and change this to server 3. You can pipe to outNull, and that will do the same thing. So different methods. So now if we look at AL, we have server 1, 2, and 3. Now we could call the remove method, which you couldn't really do with the fixed size one, and we can remove server 1 from the list. And then if we look at now, server 1 is gone. And then we also insert a 0. So like we tried to do with the 5 and it wasn't there. Now we can say, hey, at index 0, put this in index 0, bump everything back down the list. So now if we go ahead and check that out, there we go. So a little bit more advanced. Why would you use this? Let's say you're iterating through a list, and every time you go through the list, let's say you have a list of servers and you want to pull data on it, right? You can every iteration through the array, you could remove that server from the array, and then when the array is empty, you break out. So if you have like a while loop or something like that, and you run through and just keep pulling those out until there's nothing in the array, and then when the array is empty, you can say while false, right, and break out of that loop. One thing to note, performance-wise, plus equals is slower, so it is bad performance in a loop versus the ArrayList. And then with ArrayList, there's actually different types you can do. You can do ArrayList, we're about to show, where you can do an object or a string. So this is kind of a little bonus that I'm adding for the more advanced users, but whoever's new here, I'm making you advanced, right? We're learning together, we're becoming advanced. So there's two different ones. There's System.Collections.Generic.List object and Generic.List string. So if you do string, everything in there is going to be a string. So let me go ahead and do this real fast. We'll do this on the fly. So we'll just do list2, or we'll just do list2 equals. All right. So if I run this, we have list2, right? And then if we do list2 add, we'll say hi, and then we'll say list2, or oops, list2 add, and we'll say we'll add an integer. So we'll go ahead and run these real fast. So now if we do list2, we have 2 items in here. Item 1, if we look at that and we say, you can probably do get type actually, it's a string. But if we check the other one, right, technically this is an integer, but if we do get type, it is also a string. And that is because this is a list of strings. So no matter what you put in here, it's going to be a string. Now, when you do System.Collections.Generic.List object, it is a little bit slower than the string because it has to calculate like what is this object, right? Is it an integer? Is it whatever? So it's a little bit slower, but it recognizes a string compared to an integer. So let's go ahead and run this. We'll go ahead and do list. We'll go ahead and do bracket 0 bracket, and we'll say enter, and say get type, and it's a string. Let's go ahead and do the second one. There it is. Get type. Drum roll, please. Boom, integer. So it knows the object, right? It knows what type. It retains that. So that's it for the video today. Down to the best part, the challenge. Again, getting more advanced as we go, so it's kind of exciting for me. So with the challenge, today is going to be write a function that accepts an array of computer names, adds more, sorts them, and returns only the ones that start with srv dash. So make sure you add some to the list with srv dash, but go ahead and add those to the array, do your thing, have fun with this. If you have questions, comments, if there's stuff you learned here that's really cool and you're excited about it, go ahead and put it down in the comments. And I'll see you next time. And for those viewers that saw the content here, obviously there's a playlist, so go ahead and check it out to learn more about PowerShell.